Alyssa, and today I'm sharing with you my January 2019, I got it right, favorites. Sorry for bursting your eardrums. But if you're new to my channel and don't know about my favorites, that's where I list all my favorite movies, books, games, TV shows, yada yada yada. And I hope I can recommend some good things to you. And I would love to know what your favorites were in the comment box down below. So let's get started. First off with the books, which by the way, I will have timestamps down below in case you want to jump around, BT dubs. Starting with the books, I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the first novel by Taylor Jenkins Reid that I've read, but this was a masterpiece. This is very much focusing on a woman similar to Elizabeth Taylor, and this young journalist is contacted by Evelyn Hugo, who is the actress that the story centers around, and Evelyn Hugo wants someone to write her biography, and she hires this very young journalist who doesn't have a lot of experience, and the journalist doesn't know why she's been chosen, her editor doesn't know why she's been chosen over higher-ups, but the story unfolds and you see how Evelyn came to marry 7 different men, what her life was like, how the industry changed her, how she became an actress and how she stayed an actress, and all the trials and tribulations that went along with it. If you love reading gossip magazines, if you love learning about celebrity culture, this book will be right up your alley. But even if you just enjoy a good romance drama novel, this will also satiate that love, because this is so well done and it took me on so many twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and it was so emotional. And it was just so evocative, immersive. I sympathized and loathed the character of Evelyn Hugo several times during this novel. It's just so well done and I highly recommend it. Now moving on to movies, which by the way, I've already said by the way like 3 times already, but who cares? I have a letterbox where you can see everything I watch and why I rate them, and also little reviews that I post about these movies. So if you want to follow me on there, I'll follow you back. That sounds like an old Facebook trend that is way past its prime, but who cares? So let's get started with the movies that I totally was enthralled by this month. First one up is Millennium Actress. This was the only film of Satoshi Kon's that I had not seen yet, and boy was this a masterpiece. Millennium Actress is kind of similar to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo that I just mentioned in the book section. It follows an actress who is in her prime, and these 2 journalists come and they interview her. But the really cool concept of this film is that it follows her life and her journey of trying to find a man she's desperately in love with through all of her films. So it's so interesting. It is kind of Inception-y, mind-effery, but if you pay attention, it is well worth your time. The story is so beautiful, it's so complex. The animation style, which is per usual as Satoshi Kon's work, is crude but in the same way beautiful, and I actually cried during this movie. It's very hard-hitting, it's very well done. If you haven't seen Millennium Actress yet, please find a way to watch it because it's just, it's so good. It's one of Satoshi Kon's best films, probably my favorite after Perfect Blue. The next movie up is The Favorite, which is apropos for this series. The Favorite is the latest from Yorgos Lanthimos, and this has garnered tons of Oscar nominations, but it's such a treat of a film. It's wicked, it's weird, just like his previous 2 films, The Lobster and The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which he made a couple more films before that, but those are his most well known. This is batty, off the wall, crazy, but I love this because it is a period drama. It is focused on Queen Anne, but this is not historically accurate. And it just involves Queen Anne, seeing her struggle with having gout and being mocked and ridiculed, and her struggle with choosing between 2 women who are cousins, played by Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone. The setting and costume design is exquisite and sumptuous. The acting is fantastic. And the writing is so clever and unique and snappy, and Yorgos Lanthimos hit it out of the park with this film. Even if you don't usually like period dramas, I would say watch this because it's not your typical period drama. It's not stuffy, it's kind of poking fun at the genre, but it also pays homage to it. And again, the acting, even by the actors who are doing supporting roles, is phenomenal. So check out The Favorite. The next movie, I had actually read the book years ago in college, and I knew this movie would devastate me, but I didn't really understand how much it would. But that's The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I loved the novel when I read it, and again, I cried like a baby when I read the novel, so I don't know what I was expecting watching this movie, but oh my gosh. I can't really say anything about the plot without spoiling it, besides the fact that there are two young boys that don't really know what's going on in their world, but one is Jewish, one is not. It's set during the Holocaust, and that's all I can tell you, but it's a beautiful, emotional story about friendship, about transcending barriers, about loving someone for who they are, not because of what religion they are or what gender they are or anything like that. Just loving them for the beautiful soul they are. And it's so well done. The acting is phenomenal, and again, it will ruin you, but in the best way possible. The next movie up is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This is the first Monty Python film I have ever watched, and oh my gosh, I loved it. It was so funny, and not in this stupid way. It's just funny because, like, the guy who is supposed to be riding a horse, but he has a man following him making the horse hoof sounds. Hilarious. The "it's only a flesh wound" scene. Oh gosh, everything about it's so funny, and I need to watch more Monty Python now because this is the kind of humor I like. This kind of humor, Mel Brooks kind of humor. This is what I love. This is my bread and butter, and this is such a classic. If you haven't watched it, please do yourself a favor. Watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The next one is, I actually did not look up the pronunciation of this, so I don't know if I'm saying it right. The Untouchables, but to me it feels like it should be like Intouchable? Intouchable? Something like that, but I'm a little rusty on my French, so I'm just going to say The Untouchables. Please forgive me. This is the movie that The Upside is based off of, and this is just phenomenal. I have not seen The Upside, but The Untouchables, oh, it just makes you feel so good. Again, it's about a friendship that transcends barriers. It's about a man who has been down on his luck. He's trying to get benefits, so he kind of goes into an interview knowing he's not going to get a job being a caretaker for this extremely wealthy man, but to his surprise, he gets hired, and it's just their journey of him trying to learn how to care for this man, how their personalities clash, and how they help each other better their lives, and how they give each other hope. And it's just so beautiful. If you haven't seen this film, watch this. I don't know how The Upside compares to it, but The Untouchables is just so well done, and it's so lighthearted, and it does have serious moments, don't get me wrong, but it just makes you feel so good. I've been on a huge anime kick lately, so I watched The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. It was my first Mamoru Hosoda film that I've ever watched, and I've become addicted to his film since this film. But The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is about this teenage girl who one day falls, hits an acorn, and suddenly she's able to travel back in time to prevent certain things from happening. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to ruin the plot. But the animation is beautiful. I love the story. I love the concept. It was just so well done, and I loved the twists and turns it had. I loved how complex it was, yet simple at the same time. It's very easy for you to get into, but it also introduces complex topics, and I think it's just so well done, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for an anime film to get into, especially if you love time travel stuff, because this is just so good. Also, an anime film I loved was Battle Angel. This is based off the manga series Battle Angel Alita, and this is a very short film. It's only about an hour long. It's split into two sections, and it follows a young woman who has been turned into a cyborg named Gally, and she lives in a world where she is in this very industrial city, and up above them is this city called Zalem. It's basically a utopia, and Zalem just dumps their trash in their city. And in her city, there are spine thieves and hunter warriors, aka bounty hunters, who collect the organs from spine thieves and sell them on the black market. It's a very interesting concept, and even though this is a very short anime and it feels a little incomplete because of that, it's very enthralling, very intriguing. It made me want to pick up the manga, and it made me even more excited to see Alita Battle Angel when it comes out in theaters. So if you're interested in the storyline of Alita Battle Angel or Battle Angel Alita, I don't know why they changed the name, I would highly recommend watching Battle Angel because it gets you hyped up and it is very well done for how short it is. I really enjoyed the documentary Fire on Netflix. I have not seen the Hulu one yet. But I knew nothing about this story beforehand, which is weird because I'm super into pop culture and celebrity culture, things like that. But this was such a fascinating documentary. It starts out being like, oh, this guy's crazy, but you know this could potentially work. And it devolves and slowly becomes something like a horror story. If you don't know the story of Fire, I'm not going to spoil it for you because watching the documentary and not knowing about the story is such a better experience, I think, than if you were to know about it. But oh my gosh, it's terrible, but at the same time the documentary's fantastic. I'm talking about the Fire Festival and everything that went on was terrible. It is so well done, it's very informative. I like that they included interviews with people who worked at the festival. They included interviews with people who lived on the island where the festival took place and how it affected their lives. It's just very well done. I highly recommend it. Continuing on with my anime obsession, I also watched another Mamoru Hosoda film called Summer Wars, and this was just a masterpiece. I actually like this a little more than The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, but Summer Wars focuses on a young man who works as a coder basically on this very popular, it's not virtual reality world, but it's an alternate world called Oz that people log into on the computers and they have avatars. And he gets roped into pretending to be a girl he knows fiance because her grandmother is dying. And then his account on Oz gets hacked and it just throws the whole country of Japan into turmoil. And it's such a complicated plot, but watching the movie is just so fascinating. And not just because of the whole his account gets hacked and Japan's in a bunch of trouble aspect, but because it's also about family and family dynamics and what you do for the people you love. And there's just so many themes wrapped up into this one package. It's beautifully animated. I, again, adored the story. I love the characters. I liked how there were not just shades of black and white, but shades of gray thrown in, and I think this is a wonderful anime that if you like video game culture, if you like anime in general, check out this movie because it's so good. And the last movie I loved in January was When Harry Met Sally. Yes, this is the first time I have watched this film, okay? Don't crucify me. But it was very charming. It is extremely predictable, but I loved Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. I loved seeing Carrie Fisher in this movie. I thought that the dialogue was very clever and snappy, which is per usual with Nora Ephron's work. Rob Reiner did a great job directing this movie, and it's a classic. It's a romantic classic. It's one of those movies that makes you feel good, that makes you tear up. It's a classic for a reason. Moving on to TV, there are two shows I want to talk about. First up is Bodyguard, which is a Netflix exclusive. And Bodyguard is only 6 episodes long, so it's super easy to binge, but it stars Richard Madden, who deservedly won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Drama Series for this. This story follows a man who becomes a bodyguard for an elected official after he stops a terrorist attack on a train. And it just shows the relationship between him and the elected official. It shows how it affects his family, his life, and there are so many twists and turns and shocking moments, and all this is crammed into 6 episodes, and it works so well, and it's so captivating. So if you love your British crime thriller dramas, you need to watch Bodyguard ASAP. It's so good. Also, I really like Daredevil Season 3. It is sad knowing this is the last season, that there's not going to be any more Daredevil. As we currently know, Disney might do something, who knows. But Charlie Cox, as always, is great as Matt Murdock. I loved seeing more and learning more about Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. And I can't really talk about Season 3 without spoiling the first 2 seasons, so I'm just going to say, if you haven't seen Daredevil, it's one of the best Marvel Netflix shows that they produced. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. And lastly, the game I really enjoyed the most this month was Observer. I have played other games this month that I like more, but this is the one I finished. I haven't finished these other ones, so they will get relegated to another month. But Observer is a really interesting game from Bloober Team, who also made Layers of Fear. But I feel like this is better than Layers of Fear, and you play as a detective in a very cyberpunk noir futuristic setting, who is voiced by Rutger Hauer, who you may know best as Rory Batty in Blade Runner. It is so fascinating to play as this detective, and he is able to jack into people's minds as they're dying or after they've died and relive what happened to them. He's trying to figure out why the apartment building he's in is quarantined, and there's also this mysterious entity that is wandering around that is wreaking havoc on everything. Trying to figure out what that is, and it's so interesting because you get to interact with the tenants of the apartment building, you get to see what happened to the people who have been attacked, and you're trying to solve this case that hits very close to home for the detective. The only thing I did not like about this game were the couple of sections where you have to run and hide from the entity. It kind of broke the immersion of the game for me. But otherwise, this is fantastic. I loved listening to Rutger Hauer, and it's just very well done. It does take a little getting used to control-wise on Xbox One if you play it there, but after a while you get used to the controls and it just becomes an absorbing experience you can't put down. So those are my favorites for the month of January. Let me know what your favorites were in the comment box down below. If you liked the video, leave a like, and also share the video if you liked it because it helps my channel grow. If you're new here and you like what you've seen and heard, click the subscribe button, and also make sure, even if you are subscribed, to tap the notification bell so you should be alerted whenever I upload a new video. If you'd like to follow me on social media sites, those are all listed in the description box down below. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!